I know, but you got it.
Jackie. Okay.
When you're ready.
Hi, my name is Jackie, and this is my presentation of learning. So my story arc centers around a migratory fish named Fred, and from the ocean he needs to get back to the stream and the place where he was born, but unfortunately there are a lot of man-made obstacles in his way, so he needs to find a way to swim around them. So in the beginning of Fred's journey, Fred must find a way from the ocean to the stream. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shallow water, and shallow water gets heated up by the sun much faster than deeper water. And so Fred knows that if he swims in this shallow water that's super hot, he will eventually get really sick, and that's not very good. So his solution to this problem is that he is going to dig an underground tunnel. So this tunnel will go from, here's the stream, and the tunnel is going to go under, and the water will flow through. He has his own personal little tunnel to swim through. The water is cool because the sun can't reach it. So Fred's solution applies the creativity and imagination to problem solving. My carbon banner also used the same learner profile. So in the carbon banner, we had to make an infographic that educates its viewers about the importance of carbon to things. And of course that's a big problem because carbon is a really big topic. So my solution was to make an aesthetically pleasing whale-based infographic, drawing the viewer's attention and help them understand carbon and all of its concepts. One of the big problems I had was it was really hard to come up with designs that helped the reader understand what was going on and not just aesthetically pleasing. It had to be both. And it was also hard to make it so that everything flowed nicely and everything looked nicely while also still having the information. You can't have one without the other, otherwise it would be a really bad grade. So the next morning, back to the story, Fred is swimming and he bumps into these two turtles. One is bigger and smaller. And the smaller turtle appears very sad. And unfortunately, while Fred would like to continue on his journey, they are blocking the entire stream. So Fred takes a deep breath and he asks the smaller turtle, "What's wrong?" And she says that the larger turtle is her boyfriend, and he just spends all his time on his phone, never pays any attention to her. And so they're still in the stream, and Fred needs to hurry on his way. So Fred talks to the large turtle about the importance of being present and connected. And so then, after the three of them talk it out, the two turtles reach an agreement that they will be a little more present in their day-to-day lives, and they eventually move out of the way so Fred can continue. Similar to how Fred brought about social and emotional awareness in the turtles, I also brought about social and emotional awareness and empathy in an increasingly interconnected world through my zoo banner. So the zoo banner educated the public about the detrimental effects of palm oil, which is quite to say a lot of bad effects. And it was supposed to evoke empathy and a want to change habits for the better, such as buying things that don't contain palm oil and trying to advocate for a better future. And it was really hard to connect and feel empathy at first because I really tend to just ignore most things and just, it's like one big joke, and I really had to immerse myself in this project for it to actually work and for me to contribute to my group to make the actual banner. Now that the stream is clear, Fred is swimming on his way. So night comes, and Fred realizes that he needs a safe place to sleep away from predators that might want to eat him before he gets to his destination. And so as it gets darker, he gets a little more worried, and then a grasshopper stops him, and Grasshopper says, "Oh, how's your journey? How is it going?" And Fred doesn't understand why the grasshopper is asking this. He really just needs to go. And so Fred's like, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm not the smartest fish in the world, but I know more than when I started my journey, but I, of course, still have a lot to learn. And the grasshopper seems delighted by this. He says, "Oh, can you sell pebbles? These are pretty shiny pebbles. I don't really want to, but if you do, I'll provide you with a safe place to sleep." All of a sudden, Fred is delighted, and he says, "Of course I'll sell you pebbles." And he communicates so well with his customers that he sold out all the pretty pebbles that he had. So the grasshopper gives him a safe place to sleep. Similar to how Fred communicated with the grasshoppers and customers, how he understood what he knew and how much he didn't know, I also communicated what I had learned and also what I didn't know to teachers and friends via the Wood podcast. In the Wood podcast, we had to make a podcast about wood and some of its elements, but also tie it into something that we were interested in. And also making a podcast was new to many of us, as it was to me, so that was like a challenge in itself. This demonstrates to self-assess and monitor their own progress, and monitor their own understanding and communicate the quality of their learning to others, formally and informally. So for the self-assessing and monitoring part, I also had to learn about the properties of wood and deciding on what to put in and leave out so that the listener could understand all of the information. Since most of this information was completely new to me, it was hard picking out what I should actually put in. Communicating informally to teachers and guests. I communicated formally when it was graded, of course, and when we were presenting. And communicating informally was when I was presenting it to our classmates or just to other visitors that might have come in. The big challenge for me was I had a hard time communicating informally because I tend to always trail off and things, and it was hard to get my thoughts together, but this did improve as the project went on. I was able to think of what I wanted to say before I said it. Okay, so Fred thought, the next morning, Fred thought that he was all done with his challenges, because how could there be any more? There were so many. But unfortunately, he wasn't. There was a dam, a gigantic one. He couldn't see the top of it. And so Fred tried to look for a way to either get over it or around it. But unfortunately, there was none. So Fred started to swim away, and he was very upset that he couldn't finish his journey until there was a huge bird. And he told Fred that he could fly him over the dam. And so he grabbed Fred and flew him just up over the dam. And of course Fred was like, "How come you did that? I thought you were going to eat me." And Fred said that the bird said that he was actually a vegetarian bird, as there was a lack of food, and that's because of humans. And the bird now helps out other animals that are lower in the food chain than him, because, well, if he helps out animals and more of them survive, then there might be more food for his children in the future. And so Fred thanked the bird and went on his way. Much like the bird helps Fred out in the story, is how I hope I will be helping out the environment much when I use my lure to fish out the invasive species in the fish pond. This showcases the nurture, sustain, and steward the environment and community in which they live. Learner profile. Fishing out the invasive species protects the little fish by eliminating predators, extra predators that might eat them, and it weeds out the competition for food for bigger fish. And it was extremely, extremely hard for me to make fishing lures. I didn't know anything about it. Didn't know how to fish. I don't know anything really. So it got much better as the project went on. Then, once Fred thought he couldn't go on anymore, he made it to the place where he was born. He was so excited. This journey had taken him so long. So, he looked back on how far he had come and the challenges that he had faced. He knew that he would have to go back to the ocean soon, but with the challenges that he had faced and the knowledge that he had gained, he was hoping that it would be a little easier. Fred's positive mindset as he looked back on the problems he had faced closely mirrors my writing journey this semester. In the beginning of the semester, my hexagon writing got a wonderful 79%. And I didn't really understand why. I thought it was really great. So then, later on in the semester, when I had improved a little bit more and talked to my teacher to improve my skills, I got a 100% on my Indian removal act collection, which is a pretty good increase. This showcased them maintaining positive mindset and belief in the value of learning. So I made monumental progress this semester, and I reached and efficiently used learner profiles in my learning journey. I got good at maintaining a positive mindset. That's like the main thing. Because before I was like, oh, I'm like super lazy. I don't want to do this. This sucks. I just want to go to sleep. But now I actually like try really hard and do stuff. And I can't wait to see what the next semester holds. Thank you.
She got 10 minutes, 35 seconds.
Any questions or comments for Jackie?